Hi everyone, we're going to have a little bit of fun today. I've got a little bit of Saunders Waterford here and I'm going to paint some leaf-shaped trees. There's something semi-abstract that's just a little bit of fun. So I've drawn a little bit of a hill happening here. And what I'm going to do is just wet this hill off. This is with my round number 10. I'm using a round number 10, a round number 6 and a rigger today. I'm just going to wet this bottom bit of the paper and we're going to use some autumn colours. So I'm going to use some cadmium yellow. This Cotman palette will be linked in the description, but use what you have. I've not taped this down today because I want to be able to move it around quite freely. I'm going to take up a little bit of the cadmium red and then a little bit of burnt sienna. If you haven't got any of these, just substitute with the nearest colour, it's absolutely fine. And bring that along that line there. And I want this to run. I want it to run to this edge. And start to settle. See that pooling? I'm actually going to take a little bit more that burnt sienna in. I want that to flow down. And I've picked up my rigger and I've wet it, and what I want to do is randomly pop in where these trees are going to be. So I'm just wetting and pulling that down, and that paint's going to run down into those tree trunks. So it's all a little bit of fun. Things like this are quite useful for you to practice loosening up. Okay, and swizzle that around. So I now have some lovely tree trunks ready to pop some trees on. I'm going to choose the direction of the light coming this way, and I'm going to pop, this is a little bit of burnt umber, a little bit of shadow in now whilst it's still damp. And then I know that I'm going to do these leaf shaped, so I can make the shadow leaf shaped. Not being too precise about it. You see this wiggle action? I want this to be fairly loose. Bring this one right way up to here. So I've got some lovely autumn tree shadows. I'm going to dry this off now. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my round number 6 now. I'm going to start with the lightest colour. I'm going to pop in leaf shapes. I'm going on to dry. You can do whatever leaf shapes you want. This is just really good practice for you to have a go at controlling the paint. You can pop a bit of shadow in. So remember, the light's coming this way, so you want the shadow on the left hand side and underneath. That's our first leaf shaped tree. If I come along and do a burnt sienna one now, so this one, come in here. And then if I just take some thicker burnt sienna, I can pop that down that side, and that's going to give me that shadow as well. I'm going to stick to those same colours. So I've got some Cadmium Red. I'm going to pop in a leaf shape here. And then a little bit more of that Cadmium Red that side. I'm going to go with the burnt umber. Now I've got two happening here. One going this way, so we'll go burnt umber this way. Then a bit more of that colour this side to make it darker. And take some more cadmium yellow. Do on this side. At the moment I'm leaving a gap between each of these trees, but I will overlap a couple in a minute when I've dried them off. I'm going to take a bit of that burnt sienna down there so you can see those trees appearing. I'm going to dry this off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. So now I can overlap. So if I take cadmium yellow, I'm going to bring a little one in here. Now it's overlapping too, so this is layering. So each of these little processes, I'll take a little bit of the cadmium red on there, is showing you a different skill. So you have got wetting wet and flowing that in, you've got dragging out, you've got shadow, you've got applying wet on dry and adding shadow. So these are all different techniques and it's all just a little bit of fun. I'm going to do this one just here. I think there's a bit of an overlap here. Technically that shadow's wrong, but we won't get too bogged down with that. It's about learning new techniques. Okay, and then if I take my rigger, I'm going to turn this way round. I'm going to come onto a dry one. I'm going to come down the side of the tree. That's going to be the darker side, and then I'm going to flow through. So this is teaching how to flow through the leaves. So stagger those joins. The same principle applies to trunks, but we're doing something semi-abstract now, so I'm just going to carry on using the burnt sienna. Stagger those joins. I'm obviously being very careful of the one that I've just painted because I don't want to pop anything on there at the minute. It needs to be dry. Keep coming through, stagger those joins. You see those leaves are forming shape. If I come into the burnt umber, this one, I'll just dry that off. Okay, so I've just got a couple more to put in now. I've dried that off. So if I pop in a better trunk on that one and pop those in, so I'm just using that burnt umber again. Again, stagger those joins. So you've got those lovely leaf shapes. Right, so I need to sort this shadow out because that shadow went in a different direction. So that's going to come this way. And then I'm just going to come over these just to make them a little bit more prominent. So I'm just doing like a horizontal wiggle. And then actually I'm going to pop some little birds in. So these are like little curly V's. You can get those little birds in. Odd numbers always work better than even, so I'm going to do 5. And there we go, that's finished. So it just shows you how something very simple that you can practice is practicing all those techniques. So you've got the wetting wet, you've got the flowing of the paint, you've got the draw out of the trunks, you've got wet on dry and gradiating that shadow on that side, you've got the brush control. You've got the brush control of the birds as well, the overlapping and layering of the different colours. So just having a little play, you're building those techniques all the time. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If I just show you as well, if I pop a little mount on, you can choose to change the way that something looks. You can get a lovely little picture there. That would make a perfect greetings card for autumn. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share, and I shall see you next time. Bye.